mosquito.
I got a box of those
Don't
in
need to
my
be spraying
machine.
our animals in our
Yeah,
cages.
yeah.
So unhealthy.
Yeah, in fact, I made for a couple this morning. And the pond at the end, Lancer Pond.
Yeah.
I think that
Copperfield
is,
Pond.
Should we get a sign?
I think that might actually be a little flood. I think some of the leaves have flowed down there and
Oh, I'm sure, there's a lot of
remember the
leaves.
last time it flooded? My neighbor Mike,
Don't use that word.
well, the last time it was in trees.
Yeah.
3 years with the city. Yeah, 'cause it was plugged up with all kinds of branches and stuff.
Good afternoon. This is the time and place for the Legal and Finance Committee meeting for the City of Rapid City, May 14, 2025. We'll begin with roll call and determination of quorum.
Beaverdorf. Here. Evans.
Here.
Maher.
Here.
Roseland.
Here.
Stroman.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. Next item is adoption of the agenda. There's a motion by Roseland and a second by Bieberdorf to adopt the agenda. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Next item is general public comment. This is a time for the members of the public to discuss or express concerns to the council on any issue not on the agenda. Action will not be taken at the meeting on any issue not on the agenda except by placement on the agenda by unanimous vote of the council members present. And I don't believe I have any speaker or request forms for general public comment. And so I'm going to close general public comment and go to consent items 1 through 15. And I will open public comment on consent items 1 through 15. And still have no speaker request forms, so I'm going to close public comment on consent items 1 through 15. Does any member of the committee wish to remove any items from the consent agenda and vote on the remaining consent items?
Yes, number 10.
Okay, we'll go to Councilman Maher. He wants to pull number 10. Is it number 5, Bill?
Yes.
And Mr. Evans wants to pull number 5. Anything else? Does any member of the committee want to have a discussion or report on the items 1 through 15 with the exception of 5 and 10? Okay, we have a motion by Bieberdorf and a second by Roseland to adopt or to approve items 1 through 15 except for 5 and 10. And any discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Next, we'll go to Councilman Bill Evans on item number 5, which is approve resolution number 2025-045, a resolution levying assessment for abatement of nuisances. And we'll go to Bill Evans.
This has always been something of a thorn in my side, especially the snow removal thing. About 5 years ago, I had to take off because my sister-in-law was in the terminal stages of cancer. And right about that time, we had a horrible storm, both in Minneapolis and here. And there was snow and ice everywhere. I wasn't home to see what was going on. I could have easily been assessed. Now, I do have a snow melt system that I activate. That didn't even do it all. I happen to live on a side hill where it's actually more dangerous to shovel it than it is to let people walk on the snow because the snow melts, it creates this ice, and people are falling down all the time. So in my particular situation, if I'm not there, even if it's shoveled or melted, it gets more dangerous than a lot of times than just leaving the snow there. So I have a problem when I see some of these people being assessed for this little strip of thing, the $170, $200 for snow removal, when in most of these cases, if you let God do it, the snow melts within a day here in Rapid City, and almost every one of these instances over the last few months. So I think we need to revisit this policy, and we need to stop always being so punitive and punishing citizens because we don't know what's going on. And I know for a fact they do investigate and they ask to do it and everything, but you never really know the full story. And some of these things are obvious that you need to fix them when there's all kinds of junk laying around and they've been asked many times to move it. But you know, $170 to shovel your walk because you're in the hospital with your grandma for 2 days. I don't know what the reason was. That just really bothers me. And I think it's mean government. And I don't think we should be mean to our citizens. So that's my 2 bits worth. I'll pass this because this is the way the law is written now, but I just want to make that comment. I think we need to change our policies. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I appreciate those comments from Councilman Evans. You know, we are a complaint-based code enforcement division. We don't actively go out and pursue violations. They come to us from neighbors. And it does create an unfairness where if you've got someone in the neighborhood that's a watchdog, then those neighborhoods get shoveled regularly. Other neighborhoods, they get along a little bit better. People walk on top of the snow. Once we're made aware of it, then the liability falls on the city. If a complaint has been filed and there's ice and snow on a walkway, then we have to address it within a certain length of time. It would take an ordinance amendment to change that from our nuisance regulations. I think that we would want to ensure that school routes and other things, there is special attention preserved for those areas. But certainly if it's the desire of the council to look at snow removal as something that we should be changing our protocol on, that's something we could do. And luckily enough, it seems like our winters are getting warmer and warmer and we seem to get less and less snow. So we didn't have near the abatements this year as we have in the past.
Okay, go back to Bill Evans.
And I agree, we need to enforce the policy we have and we need to get the snow off of there because it does create a hazard a lot of times. But I think the way people profit off this is a little bit upsetting. An administrative fee of $50, $120 for something that takes them literally, if they have a little tractor, 10 minutes or less. You know, if we're going to do this, enforce this, if it's really a problem, I'd rather have some reasonable rates to have it happen. You know, if sometimes, you know, you fall and break a hip, the person that you normally have shovel your walk isn't available that day. What is that elderly person supposed to do? You know, there's all these contingencies that happen out here that we don't accommodate, all of these, you know, things that cause these things to happen. And we think we need to be a little more empathetic. I'd almost say we could hire a person from the city to go around and do all this, then charge them $40 or something. We could probably make a profit do that having a city person do it. But, you know, I'm looking at some of these fees. They're crazy. So just commenting again. Again, policy changes needed.
Any other discussion on item 5? Motion to approve by Evans, second by Roseland. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Go to item number 10. Acknowledge fiscal year 2024 annual financial report, and we'll go to Kevin Maher.
It's okay if I ask Director Ainsley a few questions about that?
Certainly.
Sure. I just had a couple of quick questions. So on that audit, it says there's a sales tax revenue bonds in 2021 of $98 million. Just what is that, I guess?
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Before answering that, I do just want to make sure to acknowledge Dave Uhas, our Assistant Finance Officer. He does a tremendous job, and it's really this, as well as our auditor, some of his primary responsibilities that he does for this, for the city, but he does a tremendous amount of work ensuring that this is all done and compiled according to statute and within time frames. So I just want to thank him for all of his efforts that he does with that. The sales tax revenue bonds from 2021, those are the monument bonds, and so for the Summit Arena. And so that is repaid right now out of the Vision Fund. It's about 30% of the total receipts that go into the Vision Fund are used to repay that obligation.
Okay, thank you. Just a couple more. So there was a line item 267 that says unassigned, and it had $27.7 million in it. So is that unassigned, meaning it's just in the general fund, or?
Where did you?
It was,
That's the unassigned balance. So essentially, the 27 million that we have available in the general fund, I believe, is what you're looking at. But if I, yep, in the general fund. So that was as of December 31st. That was essentially the reserves of the general fund itself. That 27 million. Now, with that, it doesn't mean you actually have that available to spend, though, because our policy is to retain 20% of our expenditures just for cash flow issues and different things like that. And so really your true available balance that you would have for projects as of the end of last year was really about $5.5 million.
okay, one more question.
Yeah.
There was item number 265, so it's committed CIP/vision funds, and there's like 66.6 million in there. How much of that is actually vision funds? Do you know roughly, or?
I do not have that. The difference, the majority of that is actually just CIP projects that were actively under construction. The CIP is fairly small, the vision funds were fairly small. That's probably less than 15 million, with the majority of it being the 9 million for the HESAPA Native American Community Center. But there's a couple other vision projects as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion?
Second.
There's a motion to approve by Bieberdorf and a second by Maher. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. That brings us to the end of the consent calendar and Alderman items. I see Bill is in the queue, but I'd like to preempt you. I have a couple. We had a couple of consent items on here, and I noticed our airport director made it down here, and so did our fire chief, and then we just kind of went through items 12 and 14 on consent. But I wondered if I could get Director Dame to give a few comments on what is in item 10, the approved airport rates and charges, and then follow that up with Chief Culberson on the pumper that we authorized.
Thanks, Mr. Chair, members of the committee. With our item here, we added a charge for just specifically to Raleigh for our ground transportation folks. We do have people who will come in and only provide service to the airport during Raleigh. So in an effort to make sure that we're treating those businesses the same as the ones who work with us on a daily basis, we added a $500 permit fee. But then under that permit fee, they don't have to, they're not required to provide the paperwork per ride per month that the other companies need to at the airport. So just helps to level the playing field and the businesses that are doing business at the airport.
Thank you. Does that engender any other questions or comments from the, go to Kevin? Is that all right if I take Kevin now?
Yeah,
Okay.
Patrick, I noticed it's a small item, but it said that there's a $2 charge for ride sharing drop-offs and pickups. How is that tracked? Is that tracked by the companies or is it volunteer?
Mr. Chair, Councilmember Maher, it is done by the companies. So whenever you work with rideshare companies, they actually have a GeoGrid on the airport. So when they enter the GeoGrid, it automatically will track that fee that's in there. So there is a system nationwide for all airports where they're able to put GeoGrids around the airport. And then when we get a contract with them, they apply that fee to it directly.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Bill, are you on this? Or are you on the next one? Are you just waiting? Okay. Patrick, I thank you for coming down. Is there anything else that you want to add in terms of what's going on at the airport right now, or just are you content with that?
Mr. Chair, I'd be happy to. Thank you. We are in the process right now of getting ready to bid Phase 2 and Phase 3 of Project 1. We've got roughly $30 million in outside federal funding coming in for that portion of the project. So we'll see how bids come in. We're optimistic that it's going to be better than Phase 1 of Project 1 bids that came through before. We're hearing that contractors are a little bit more hungry. We also bid a parking lot expansion, some of you may have seen in the news. So that initially was estimated at $5.5 million, came in at $4.5 million for that expansion. Most of that was due to the cost of oil being down, I believe it was close to 27% as part of the project. It's badly needed. I know we've also had a lot of conversation from folks about wanting us to build a parking garage out at the airport, and we appreciate and do think at some point we will be prepared to be able to build a parking garage, but in the meantime, we're going to build as much on the surface as we can because there's a substantial difference per parking stall between building on the ground and building up into the air. As a for instance, Sioux Falls parking garage was $64 million for 1,000 stalls. We're building 550 stalls for $4.4 million. Or $4.5 million. So large economy of scale difference. We will get there at some point in the future as it's needed. We'll continue to work through trying to make sure that we've got ample parking that's there. Growth has been fantastic for us. Keeping up is always difficult, but we're doing our best to work through it.
Thank you, Director Dame.
Thank you.
Okay, and then I was gonna go over to Chief Culberson to talk about item 14, the purchase of a rescue pumper, and I guess anything else that you want to update us on at the fire department.
Sure.
Thank you, Chief.
Excellent. Thank you, Chair. Appreciate it. Yeah, what's on the agenda is to purchase a new rescue pumper for Station 7, which is our heavy rescue station. One of the things we strive for is to make sure we have high quality, good quality, safe equipment in order for our firefighters to operate, which ensures that if we keep these up to date, ensures that they stay running, especially during an emergency. So we do follow NFPA, which NFPA 1911 outlines, and it's a guideline, but we do try to and strive to follow that, where it states that 15 years a vehicle needs to be in frontline apparatus, and then the next 5 years, so a total of 20-year lifespan. That following 5 years, it can be in a backup mode, a reserve apparatus. So this fire engine that we are asking to replace is changing some tactics. We aren't going to go with a straight fire apparatus, a fire pumper. It will be a pumper, but it'll also be a rescue engine. So it'll be able to carry more equipment. We're putting it on that current engine, which is causing some issues, some overloading issues, but that equipment we need on there. And so this new pumper will be purpose-built. It is a rescue pumper. It is designed to carry that equipment and also be a fire engine. So at a structure fire, it can still pump the water. It's got the same size tank, etc., but it just has more room for the equipment that goes in there. So one of the questions I'm sure will be is where did this funding come from? So the funding for our large vehicle fire apparatus come out of CIP. There's a 3% from the sales tax for CIP that's dedicated to fire vehicle acquisition. And we have used that and put together a large vehicle replacement plan, which I did send to all of you earlier this week. It kind of outlines it on how we replace those equipment or those pieces of equipment. It's a little more fluid since over the last 5 years or so since COVID, because costs have started to fluctuate and increase significantly. So, and we also added the third ladder truck, which made us adjust some of where we purchased. So how we've done that is you'll see that we move, instead of 10 years, that's what we had for our engines. Now we've moved to a 15-year replacement for those. Ladder trucks will remain at 15 years. Hopefully we can maintain that, but if we need to, we can adjust from there. We have some fantastic maintenance folks that keep these apparatus up and running. We do have 2 other pumpers that are in reserve status, and we use one of those for training. One of those is a 2001, so which is allowable under NFPA as long as we follow some rules. So, which we do, and they do very well. So, and as a side note, we want to keep that 2001 because it's pre-emissions. That's some of the biggest issues we've been having with keeping our large vehicle operating. Is yes, even fire apparatus have to have the DEF and the emission standards. So that seems to be our highest failure point on all of our large vehicles, as well as our ambulances and light vehicles. So, yep, they follow under the same rules, so they may derate in the middle of a structure fire and or go into limp mode. So we're always cautious of that, and that's why we have our maintenance folks, and that's why we put a significant effort into that arena. So also, just real quick, it's just a little over 3 years from order. It used to be about 12 months for a pumper and 18 months for a ladder truck. Now it's 3 years for a pumper and 5 years for a ladder truck. So that's why we're asking now to purchase it, because then that pumper will be at the 15-year mark once it's delivered. So
it's manufactured by Boeing then, I take it.
could be close.
Okay.
Rosenbauer. So.
Okay. But, well, thank you for the update, Chief, and thanks for the work your division does, because, I mean, I saw on the news there was a big structure fire on the east side not too long ago, and it's just good to know your crews are out there taking care of us.
I appreciate that. And if you give me just a second of latitude, just update you on Station 1. We're coming up to the end of that build. We're about 2 months out from that being completed. Looking forward to it. They're remodeling the existing portion, the old portion of the station. They're in the middle of remodeling. Have the sheetrock up, and they're working on the apparatus bay, and some of that's visible from the outside. So, yeah. So there's a quick update on that.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other comments or questions for Chief Culberson? Okay, thank you. Now we're going to go to Councilman Bill Evans.
Hi, thank you, Mr. Stroman. I see several of our Copperfield residents are out there. And for right now, we have some good news for you. We've kind of come with a gentleman's agreement to not enforce any of these things for the next 30 days or so until this council can decide what we want to do. There may be policy changes, ordinance changes, whatever. We understand people kind of get caught with their pants down a little bit. You know, there are certain states where if you cohabitate with somebody for so long, you're married. There are other locales where if you live in a spot that's not yours very long, it's yours. And so we have all these really odd enforcement things where we're, you know, enforcing, we're not enforcing. It catches you by surprise, and it certainly caught the council by surprise last week. Now, I'm not saying that they were doing the wrong thing, because frankly, they were just doing their job. You know, the law's in place, the ordinance is in place, they were just enforcing it, so it's not to chastise anything that they were doing. However, it does create issues for all of us, you guys and us up here. So for right now, we're going to put everything on pause. No more chopping down of 30-year-old silver maples. No more moving sheds until we decide if we're going to come up with a policy that can accommodate some of these things, because anything is possible, and we don't want the government to be a bully, you know, like the police say, protect and serve. Well, we're not here to bully and harass. So we'll see what we come up with over the next 30 days. And for right now, hopefully everything is on pause until we figure out the situation, what we want to do about it. Okay? So thanks for showing up.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Evans. Anyone else? Can I get a motion to adjourn? Motion to adjourn by Roseland, a second by Bieberdorf. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. We're adjourned.